What are some self-care tips for the 16 types? In this video, I'll go over different things the 16 types can do to feel a little bit better about themselves. So let's get into it. All of the 16 types do have specific self-care tips that can help them more or less. They're really specific to the functions and attitudes they have. If you don't know too much about the functions and attitudes, it's just kind of related to the letters and related to how the types function. This often involves things like self-love, self-understanding, self-realization, self-growth, things that help a type kind of evolve and develop. So let's take a look at that. So for INFJs, they may need time to plan how to thrive. I've talked about this a little bit in videos before. INFJs, they don't have introverted sensing. They're not a sensing type. Surviving, getting by, routines, habits are just not their thing. INFJs, they really need a plan to thrive, where they're going, where they're headed. It's really important to an INFJ to have that creative freedom, have a path that's leading towards their ideal future where things are better. So if they don't have a plan of how to get where they want to go, thrive and become their best self, they're going to kind of stagnate and be unhappy. So that's really important for them with their NI hero. Processing guilt, figuring out, concrete actions they can take to process their guilt. That's really important for INFJs as well. They may feel kind of unresolved negative feelings towards the things they've done, mistakes they've made in the past, if they've hurt people. And that regret can build up if they don't process that guilt, if they don't, give some forgiveness to themselves, give some mercy to themselves, understand that, yes, they've made mistakes, maybe they have hurt people, but that it's okay and that they're going to try to do better in the future and process that guilt without letting it overwhelm them. Analyzing what is true and being able to express those thoughts clearly is also important for INFJs to kind of live a happy life, being able to have your own thoughts, introspect, take time alone, go on a long walk, think things through, come to some conclusions, so that the INFJ kind of has their worldview set in stone to some degree. Obviously, you always want it to evolve, but being able to really understand what you think about things and not letting, all those thoughts kind of stay chaotic. Reconnecting with the external world as well, getting out of your shell as an INFJ, playing a sport, reconnecting with friends, going outside, doing something with your hands, going out there, doing things, engaging with the world, and being able to develop yourself is a great way to take care of yourself. Then we have ENFJs. ENFJs, they are going to really want to prioritize taking time for themselves, being able to relax, being able to take a breather, being able to stop doing work for just a little bit of time. And, doing work, getting things done is really important for ENFJs and their mental health, being able to clean things, control things, set up a structure. But every once in a while, they have to look at the other side of it and be able to enjoy the moment, enjoy life now. That's something that can really make them happy as well. Realign what, your care for others and what that means and how that lines up with what you genuinely want as an ENFJ. ENFJs, they can get into that FE hero mode where they're just caring for others, helping others, trying to get that external approval and not figuring out what they really want independently of that, figuring out their path, how their path might be unique, different, how it might go against the grain, it might go against how people are going to feel, or at the very least might upset some people, but it's still what they want. So they have to figure out what that means for them. That's really important. And yeah, kind of like I said before, letting yourself rest, but specifically tied to guilt, specifically tied to shame, feeling guilty about resting, feeling bad, like you're letting people down, like you're not getting your work done, that you're not being your best self, being able to let go of that and figure out how you can rationalize and figure out how you can understand how important rest is, how important it is to take some time off and be able to be yourself. Processing that inner world as well, valuing your inner thoughts, valuing your inner opinions, and valuing what is true, and being able to analyze that and come to some conclusions about what is true so that you can really have that concrete sense of self-worth, but a concrete sense of how things work, what is really happening around you, and not just relying on other people's feelings and opinions to dictate everything, but having your own internal sense of self as well. So that's really important. Then we have INFPs. INFPs, they may want to take some time to celebrate some small wins. INFPs, they can get stuck in the past. They can sometimes think about the past, be analyzing what's happened before, and not always seeing where they're going, not always getting motivated about things. So when they do things, when they apply a routine and they see some progress, being able to find the motivation in the small wins, not necessarily looking for yourself to be super motivated and feel like you want to do this and change the world, but celebrating some small progress, small steps towards changing your habits so that you can look towards the future more optimistically. Another thing Focus on who you're loyal to and why. Don't just simply go, that person's my childhood friend, that person is my family member, I have to be loyal to them. Yes, that can be a virtuous thing, but you have to also analyze why you're loyal to someone. What are they doing? Are they affecting your mental health in a positive way? Are they affecting other people in a positive way? And really try and determine for yourself what your loyalty means to you and what it means to other people, and assign some of those principles to it to make it very accurate. Another thing, INFPs, they have FE nemesis. They can feel guilty if they're not doing things for other people because they realize the importance of that emotional state. So do something kind for someone else. Make someone else smile. Give a gift of appreciation. Connect with someone emotionally in some way. That can definitely make INFPs feel good. Share your feelings as well, even when they're messy. Even when INFPs, they can sometimes shut down, not share their emotions. They have tons of emotions, but they can sometimes shut them down and not share them if they're in an external environment. They're focused on, what do people want to do? What are people thinking? I'm kind of worrying about that, and not wanting to overshare feelings if they're uncomfortable, but still being able to share those feelings. Find the people who can hear those feelings out. Find the people who will accept them and listen to you. And then that's, for the best for INFPs. Then ENFPs. ENFPs, one thing ENFPs can do is reconnect with their inner enthusiasm, revisit old passions. If they felt like they started something and then didn't finish it, if they feel regret that they didn't follow through, being able to go back, revisit those things, work on following through, work on finishing if they want to finish something, work on developing a skill, not just trying to rely on the fact that they, have developed it, to some degree and they can say they're good at it, but actually becoming their best self at it and getting to feel that reality, combined with what they really want. Another thing for ENFPs, writing down the things that they want, writing down their dreams to make them more real, make them more achievable, not going too above and beyond where your dreams are super unrealistic and impossible and at a high standard. And ENFPs can hold themselves to an unrealistic standard and be very hard on themselves, but make it real, make it achievable, make it something you can really accomplish, make it maybe a daily goal, maybe a weekly goal, maybe a month, something quite small, so that you can find that small win and find the motivation in that. Process guilt. Identify lessons. Don't just feel over shame. Go, I'm a terrible person. I'm awful. Punish yourself. Self-harm. But really understand, in a balanced way, what happened in the past. What mistakes did I make? What regrets do I have? And how can I grow and learn and be able to treat people better and treat myself better in the future and not just be upset about it? And work on identifying what routines make you the happiest. Find routines within the chaos. ENFPs obviously have a reputation for flying by the seat of their pants, but that's not always necessarily true for ENFPs. They can enjoy some structure, some stability, some routine, some things that kind of reliably make them feel good, reliably make them feel healthy and secure. So ENFPs developing that SI aspirational is important as well. We have INTJs, reviewing long-term vision, reviewing where you want to go and kind of adjusting those goals, being able to think about what you want and be able to, enjoy the process of progressing your skills, progressing to where you want to go. INTJs, they can sometimes get stressed out about reality, get stressed out about what's really going to happen because the ideal is much better, but facing it a little bit, dipping your toe in the pond, being able to go out there and progress those goals in reality can help INTJs feel good about themselves. Reflect on the mistakes, reflect on your past, but as data, as, research points, not necessarily evidence that you're unwanted or that you failed or that, you're always going to fail or that, you're never going to make it, but see that as data points that you can use to improve. And INTJs can be really good at this. Step outside that comfort zone in small strategic ways. INTJs, they want to strategize, they want to have, a good path forward. They're always looking for the best path, but being able to do it in different small ways. INTJs look at that really big picture. They love to make those big decisions, the big, passion defining decisions in their life that are going to really change their life and other people's lives. But being able to make small decisions too that are maybe less important, they're a bit more detail focused, but being able to make those decisions as well can help an INTJ make that overall dream come true. And focus on taking time to practice your skills. The things that you might be insecure about, the things you might ignore, being able to put some time and effort into those can help INTJs feel really good about themselves. We have ENTJs. ENTJs, one thing they can do for self-care is allow themselves to process frustration without forcing solutions. ENTJs, they want to be efficient, they want to get things done, have good outcomes, get to where they want to go, but allow themselves to kind of sit in a negative feeling, to sit in a frustration without necessarily needing to go, and being able to allow themselves to have that negative feeling and kind of process that can be very healthy for them. Realigning external ambitions with internal purpose. And kind of what I mean by that is aligning that NI with the FI, aligning the drive, the passion, the direction with the morals, with the authenticity, with the feeling side of it as well, and being able to make sure where you're going is also what's going to make you the happiest, because wherever you're going, that's, a path you want to take that ends up, making you happy as well. So making sure those align. Communicating those potentially negative, vulnerable feelings to deepen trust with others. ENTJs, they'll all say that they're very emotional people deep down, but being able to communicate those feelings, trusting other people enough to kind of share and have other people share back, and being able to understand that you're not going to be abandoned, you're not going to be disrespected for having feelings, and this can actually deepen those things. Taking time to do what you're passionate about, taking time to do the things that are meaningful to you, not just the grind, not just your job, not just what's going to make you rich or famous, but being able to connect with, art, being able to connect with a passion, being able to connect with a friend, or exercise, whatever that might be, doing something that you enjoy as well, and not just trying to focus on the job necessarily, or focus on something that you're going after, but being able to take a step back as well. We have INTPs. INTPs, something that they can do to make themselves feel better, stimulate their mind with new ideas without necessarily overwhelming themselves. INTPs can have two different modes. They can be super curious, where they're just, thinking things through, doing some research, having fun in that environment, but they can also just kind of not want to bother. They can get, idle. They can just enjoy, doing things that are fun, watching TV, doing drugs, whatever that might be. They don't always want to get out of their comfort zone because their TE is pessimistic. They have pessimistic extroverted thinking. They're not always going to be doing tons of research because it can actually, they have to rethink things through. It takes a lot of effort. So being able to learn things and grow without necessarily overwhelming yourself with negative, feelings, and acknowledging things like emotional fatigue instead of necessarily intellectualizing it away, and being able to go, okay, you know what, I'm actually stressed out in this situation, maybe I'm being too social, maybe I'm not being social enough. A lot of times emotional fatigue will actually come from being too isolated, and people will think, oh, I just need to introvert more to feel better, when they don't realize they're introverting too much, and they're actually emotionally fatigued from how little interaction they have with others. So being able to not necessarily make some kind of intellectual conclusion of, oh, people are dumb, they're, I don't need them, I don't want them, but being able to kind of just acknowledge the emotions as being real, being valid, they are true, they are something you are literally feeling, whether it's talking to someone or just listening to them. That can help INTPs. Reflecting on what truly matters, not just what's necessarily interesting, being able to identify and align the feeling side of it with the thinking side of it. It's great to be curious, read tons of Wikipedia articles, figure things out, that's great. But being able to go, what should I focus my time on researching? What should I focus my time on thinking about? What's really valuable to think about? What's really valuable to analyze and come up with theories for? And being able to align those things can really help INTPs kind of fulfill their emotional purpose. Communicating personal needs openly as well, kind of with the feelings thing, being able to communicate those feelings and needs openly. If you want to have an example of this, watch The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder, who is an INTP, who is all about trying to understand, in this season, at least in season 2, how to communicate your feelings, your needs, their emotions very openly, even if it's awkward, even if it could cause conflict. So that's something to watch if you're an INTP, to kind of get a perspective on how important that is. And with ENTPs, one thing ENTPs can do is slow down to finish one idea before necessarily chasing the next. Slow down to finish a project, so, finish what you started, essentially. But ENTPs can often start things, lots of energy, then they get bored, move on to the next thing, and then they can feel regret that they didn't finish it. They can feel unfulfilled that they didn't finish it. They can feel annoyed that they didn't put in the effort to get it done. So being able to do that can sometimes help ENTPs have a better mental health state of mind. Practicing minimalism, not going into the idea of introverted sensing fulfillment, meaning comfort, fun, enjoyment, pleasure, but going the other way and saying, I actually get my pleasure from self-control, self-discipline, restriction, and minimalism, and putting in effort instead of necessarily trying to enjoy life as much as possible. And enjoyment obviously comes from that, but just in a different way, in a more delayed gratification sense. Finding a cause to fight for, finding something that's worth putting effort into to kind of align those two ideas so that you don't feel like, oh, I just have suffering and then I'm numbing the suffering with pleasure and going back and forth, but finding what is worth suffering for, the meaning of life, what is worth suffering and dying for, since that's inevitable, finding a cause to fight for and endure for. Sharing your life with others, connecting with other people, one thing, of course, self-care, just extroverting, having a good time, of course, but being able to share your struggles with other people, being able to share things that are hard for you and learn and listen to those people as well. And then we have ISFJs. ISFJs, one thing they can do is give themselves permission to say no without feeling guilty. ISFJs will often have this nagging thing in the back of their head telling them, I feel like a pushover and I don't like it. So give yourself permission to stand up for yourself. You don't have to be a dick. You don't have to be mean. You can just say no. You can have those boundaries without necessarily being guilty of doing anything wrong. Realigning efforts with internal peace, being able to focus on where am I putting in my effort? Where am I putting in this hard work? ISFJs are great at putting in the effort, but really aligning what your values are, where are your, goals, and having that be where you put your effort. Not being too overly hard on themselves, self-critical with their introverted feeling critic, and being able to give themselves a break and forgive themselves is great. And managing stress so it doesn't build up. ISFJs, well, yes, they have very high introverted sensing. They're very good at enduring stress and they can be aware of it, but they can often be so good at enduring it that they think they can just endure it and not necessarily address it. And if they just endure it and endure, eventually they'll break and then it'll be like a dam kind of exploding and all the water will rush out and drown everyone, and it can be a massive buildup. So making sure you manage that before it explodes. And then we have ESFJs. ESFJs allowing space to reflect instead of necessarily constantly helping, instead of going out of your way to, if I just put effort into making people feel good, they're going to take care of me. They're going to help me. But being able to help yourself too, and not necessarily expect that coming back to you, and not just using kind of that covert contract of doing things for others so it comes back to you. And realigning that kindness with authenticity, aligning it with your values, doing it because it's who you are, not because you want to gain something. Not that all ESFJs do this, but this can be something that they need to think about because it can be instinctual and accidental. Taking time to do something that's just for your future, taking time to consider where you're going. ESFJs, they get a lot of help if they're in a relationship or if they have people around them to kind of motivate them to see a future. When they don't have that, they can really struggle to get going. But being able to do a little something here or there that helps you in your future. And communicating your boundaries without necessarily apologizing, without feeling like you're wrong to stand up for yourself. That's very important for ESFJs. We have ISTJs. ISTJs, stepping back from rules to ask what truly matters to you. Where do your values lie? Where are your ethics? What's more important than the rules? What's more important than how society is run? Finding what that is and then fighting for that, because that is really important. Letting yourself be imperfect. You don't have to necessarily put all your identity in your routine. Be willing to change your routine. Be willing to make mistakes. Be willing to be a little bit flexible. ISTJs can struggle with being, a little bit, I don't know, there's many different words for it, but having a difficult time with adapting. Necessarily, they can get very stuck in one specific identity, one specific routine, but being a bit flexible to change your mind, change your ideals and your ideas, and being able to have new identity as well. Taking time to do something spontaneous, fun, not just getting stuck in the same old, and communicating those emotions before they can turn into, withdrawal. ISTJs may do the same thing ISFJs do. Endure, let that build up, thinking that if they just keep enduring, they'll get the pot at the end of the rainbow, but being able to communicate your emotions and not let that build up either. We have ESTJs. One thing ESTJs can do is slow down and ask about how you feel, not just what needs to be done, not just looking at efficiency and getting things done, but actually figuring out how you feel, take a step back. That's really important for ESTJs. Realigning effort with the personal fulfillment side, realigning what you're doing with what's important, and being able to focus on more than just achievement, more than just having people respect you, more than just having that approval, but really focusing on putting effort into something that's important to you. Communicating those feelings, those vulnerable things, those negative emotions as a sign of strength, not weakness, as a sign of, courage, not necessarily as something that you should see as something that people are going to look down upon. And being able to take time as well to do something restful without feeling shame for doing it. It's okay sometimes to be inefficient at times because it will actually increase your efficiency overall. Then we have ISFPs, being able to let your values guide your choices instead of necessarily that outside pressure, instead of feeling like other people need you to do certain things and, other people are going to think this about you and you're going to be embarrassed, but being able to let what's really important to you and what's really good and moral guide your decision making. And ISFPs can be great at this. Realigning yourself with your creative and expression, not just getting stuck in the job, getting stuck in the routine, but being able to really make sure you're allowing yourself time to be your creative self and taking time to do something you love without necessarily having to share it, being able to just do something for you, being able to do things that, yes, you can, of course, share them at some point, you can show them to people, but being able to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in the equation and communicating your inner world as well, being able to connect with somebody else and share those feelings without necessarily feeling judged. Then we have ESFPs. ESFPs, one thing they can do to feel good about themselves is let themselves slow down without necessarily fearing that they'll miss out. They can have FOMO with extroverted sensing hero, afraid of missing the moment, but be able to slow down, think about the future, strategize a little bit, maybe say no to certain opportunities to say yes to some other ones. That's important. Realigning their energy with their inner meaning, not just what's fun, not just what's exciting right now, but where are you going? What's really important to you long term with that NI? Taking time to do something with personal significance, kind of the same vein. Being able to do something that is personally meaningful and not just trying to make sure everyone's having a good time. And same thing with the future, communicating those fears, those worries, those anxieties. They don't necessarily make you less fun or less capable of achieving what you want. They're not going to make people doubt you, but you can just have those fears, have those worries, express them, get some feedback, and refine your ideas. And we have ISTPs. ISTPs, one thing they can do as a self-care tip is let their guard down and allow other people to sometimes support you, allow sometimes people to help you. You always are trying to help people, support people, give people safety, security, happiness, but allowing other people sometimes to help you out when you need it. And you might feel like, I don't really need it, and you might not technically need it, but it can really still help you. You can still have a better time, a better future because of that, and allowing people to help you, give good opinions, give feedback so that you can learn and grow as well. And realigning that independent side of it with the connection side. They're not always opposites. Just because you can do something yourself, you don't need help, doesn't mean that people won't feel good when they get to be in part of your life, when they get to hear you share something, when they get to help you out. If you love helping people and being there for others, other people can feel the same way. Other people are going to want to be able to help you out and be able to contribute to you to feel good about themselves as well. And just being able to connect and share and open up around others. Another thing ISTPs can do is do creative things, do things for themselves without necessarily feeling like they're doing it for someone else, whether it's just music. It doesn't have to be fixing something for someone else, but just doing something for yourself as well. And communicate. Be able to emotionally communicate, emotionally express yourself when you're stressed, angry, overwhelmed, whatever those feelings are. Not just feeling like I can only say this if it's going to help someone else out. I can only express my feelings if it really, contributes to them. Well, no, that's not the only thing, because you being happy and healthy is what's going to help you help others. Then we have ESTPs. ESTPs can sometimes struggle with, reacting and taking action in the moment without always reflecting, and having that reflection on what you should do, what decisions you can make, how you feel and think is important for ESTPs, because they want to align their decisions, the actions they take, with their values as well, with their ethics, so that they know that what they're doing is helping others and not just going, if I give people a good experience, people are going to stick around for me, but also looking at how you can really contribute to the world in a positive, emotional way. Taking that time to do something that's meaningful, not just exciting, is important for ESTPs. You're going to want to communicate when you care, not just assume that actions speak for everything. Communicate your emotions a bit more outwardly. Say, I care about you, I really appreciate you, and allow for that emotional dialogue without necessarily assuming that it makes you weak. So those are just some of the things. I have the next video loaded up there. No final thoughts segment today, but those are some of the different things that the types can do to find some self-care and self, improvement, being able to understand themselves in a different way. So if you guys enjoyed, leave a comment down below. If you want to see any other topics, let me know as well. And I hope you all have a great day.